The most common question I've gotten over my 25 years of advising people is not what you think it is. It's not, did I start saving too late, or have I saved enough, or should I put money in my traditional 401k or my Roth 401k? It's a decision that can cost people lost wealth without a well thought out strategy. And most people make this decision based upon emotion, not math. If you stick around to the end of this podcast, you'll have all the tools to help you make this important wealth decision without losing potential wealth and future financial security. So let's dive right into it. Today we're tackling one of the most emotionally charged financial decisions you'll face. Should you pay off your mortgage before you retire or keep investing that money instead? So let's just start with a quick story that perfectly illustrates this dilemma. 5 years ago, I had two clients. They were a brother and sister, both 58 years old. Both had $200,000 left on their mortgages at a 3.5% rate of interest. One of them chose to pay off their mortgage completely, but the other chose to invest that same $200,000 in a diversified portfolio. When you fast forward to today, just 5 years later, the difference in their net worth is already really significant. But here's what most people don't realize. This isn't just a math problem. It's a psychology problem. So wealth decision principle number one, security is not the absence of debt, it's the presence of options. Conventional wisdom says debt is bad, but sophisticated investors understand that not all debt is created equal. Your mortgage might be the cheapest money you'll ever borrow, especially if you locked in rates during the historic lows of recent years. Think about it this way. If someone offered to lend you $300,000 at 3% interest for 30 years, and you can invest that and get an average rate of return of 8 to 10%, would you take that deal? Now, obviously, if you have a mortgage that is 6 or 7%, like some folks do today, that's a very different story. And we'll dive into that later in this episode. So coming up next, I will reveal the three-part framework I use with clients to make this decision, plus the tax deduction myth that's costing most retirees thousands of dollars in lost wealth. So before we dive into the framework, let's destroy the biggest myth about mortgage interest deductions. Most financial advisors tell you to keep your mortgage because it's tax deductible. But here's the reality that will shock you. Most retirees don't benefit from mortgage interest deductions at all. Since the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act increased the standard deduction now in 2025 at $30,000 for married couples and $15,000 for singles, the majority of retirees are taking the standard deduction. Unless your mortgage interest, state taxes, and charitable giving combined exceeds these amounts, you're getting zero tax benefit from your mortgage. This changes everything. If you're not itemizing, that 4% mortgage is actually costing you the full 4%, not some reduced after-tax rate that financial planners love to calculate. Here's the three-part framework I use with clients who have built substantial wealth. Part one, the real interest rate analysis. Forget the theoretical tax savings. What's your mortgage actually costing you? If you're taking the standard deduction, it's the full interest rate, period. Part two, the opportunity cost reality. Let's say you have $200,000 and a mortgage at 4%. If you pay off the mortgage, your guaranteed return is 4%. That's what you save in interest. But if you invest that $200,000 in a portfolio averaging 8% annually, you're potentially earning an extra 4% or $8,000 per year. And part three is the liquidity test. Having $200,000 invested gives you flexibility that a paid-off house doesn't. You can't eat equity. Now, if your mortgage is a big part of your expenses and you want to retire early, that is another story. And we'll discuss some strategies for that situation later in this episode. Coming up, I'll share the surprising research about why keeping your mortgage might actually make you better at investing, plus the cash flow trap that prevents early retirement. So let's talk about a little bit about the psychology of money and the cash flow reality. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman, who won the Nobel Prize for his work on behavioral finance, discovered something called loss aversion, We feel the pain of losing money twice as strongly as we feel the pleasure of gaining it. This is why paid off your mortgage feels so good. It eliminates a monthly loss from your cash flow. But here's the counterintuitive part. Research shows that people who keep their mortgages and invest the difference actually become more disciplined over time, and they become better investors. Why? Because they're forced to confront market volatility on a regular basis. They develop what I call market calluses, the psychological toughness to stay invested during downturns. Meanwhile, people who pay off their mortgage often struggle to invest aggressively afterward because they've trained themselves to prioritize safety over growth. So this leads me to wealth decision principle number 3. Comfort is the enemy of wealth. Embrace calculated discomfort. But here's the scenario where paying off your mortgage makes perfect sense. If you're the type of person who would spend that mortgage payment instead of investing it, then pay off the house. Behavioral finance teaches us that the best financial strategy is the one you'll actually stick to. Now, let me address the elephant kind of in the room here for early retirement seekers. If you're planning to retire before Social Security kicks in, especially if your mortgage payment represents over 35% of your monthly expenses, the math changes pretty dramatically. Here's a real scenario from my practice. I'm changed the name to protect this client. Jennifer, age 55, wants to retire early. She has $800,000 invested, which could generate about $32,000 annually using the 4% rule. But her mortgage payment is $2,800 per month. That's $33,600 per year, more than her entire portfolio income. She literally cannot retire early without eliminating that mortgage payment first. So this is what I call the cash flow trap. You might have substantial net worth, but if your fixed expenses exceed your investment income, you're not financially free. You're financially stuck. Let me tell you about another client, we'll call him Robert, age 60, who wants to retire at age 65. He has a $3,200 monthly mortgage payment with only 4 years left on a 30-year loan. His remaining balance is about $125,000. That payment is eating up a huge chunk of his cash flow. Robert's thinking is, should I pay off this $125,000 now or keep investing since I only have 4 years of payments? This is the short-term mortgage paradox, and the answer might surprise you. If Robert pays off the mortgage now, he saves about $150,000 in payments over the next 4 years, $3,200 times 48 months. But if he invests that $125,000 instead and continues making payments, he would potentially have $170,000 in 4 years, assuming an 8% rate of return. The key insight here is if you have 4 years left on your mortgage and want to retire in 5 years, paying it off early only costs you about 1 year of investment growth versus 25 plus years if you had just started that mortgage. The opportunity cost math completely changes when the timeline is short, especially if your mortgage payment is high and represents more than 35% of your expenses. Coming up in the final segment, I'll share the exact 7-question test I use with clients to help make this decision, plus 4 actionable strategies you can implement today, regardless of what path you choose. So here's the 7-question decision framework. Number 1, are you actually getting a tax deduction from your mortgage? If your total itemized deductions don't exceed the standard deduction, you're getting 0 tax benefit. This is the most important question because it determines your real interest rate. Number 2, what is your real interest rate versus what you could potentially get in a diversified portfolio? If your mortgage rate is above 6% and you're not getting tax benefits, the math tips strongly towards paying it off. Below 4%, investing wins. If you're between 4 to 6%, then possibly using an approach I will discuss later in the 4 actionable strategies would make the most sense for you. Number 3, how much emergency fund do you have outside of home equity? If paying off your mortgage would leave you with less than 6 months of expenses and liquid savings, don't do it. Number 4, how does this decision affect your overall asset allocation? If your house represents more than 40% of your net worth, paying it off might create dangerous concentration risk. Number 5, does your mortgage payment exceed 35% of your target retirement income? If yes, you might need to pay it off to make early retirement mathematically possible. This is especially critical if you're planning to retire before age 62 and won't have Social Security as a backup. Number 6, do you have less than 5 years left on your mortgage? If yes, the math changes pretty significantly. With a short-term payoff timeline, you're not sacrificing decades of compound growth, making the decision more about cash flow timing than long-term wealth optimization. Number 7, can you sleep at night with market volatility? This is the tiebreaker. If market swings keep you awake, the guaranteed return of paying off your mortgage might be worth more than the math advantage of investing. Obviously, everyone's situation is different, but here's 4 actionable strategies to maximize the outcome. Strategy number 1, the tax reality check. Calculate whether you're actually benefiting from your mortgage interest deduction. Add up your mortgage interest rate, state and local taxes, and charitable giving. If your total is less than the standard deduction, you're getting 0 tax benefit. This single calculation might change your entire decision. Strategy number 2, this is my favorite, the hybrid approach. Don't make it all or nothing. Consider splitting the difference. If you have $100,000 extra that you want to put towards something, like paying off your mortgage, put $50,000 toward the mortgage and $50,000 into investments. This satisfies both your emotional need for security and your logical need for growth. This hybrid approach is a great strategy if your real interest rate is between 4.5% and 5.5%. Strategy number 3, the short timers strategy. If you have less than 5 years left on your mortgage and plan to retire soon after, consider this. Pay off the mortgage if the payment represents more than 35% of your retirement needs. The opportunity cost is minimal and the cash flow benefit is immediate. Strategy number 4, the early retirement accelerator. If you're targeting early retirement and your mortgage payment is high, consider an aggressive approach. Focus every extra dollar on mortgage payoff for 3 to 5 years, then redirect that full mortgage payment into investments once it's gone. This creates a massive cash flow boost that can accelerate your path to reaching your goals. For example, if you eliminate a $2,500 mortgage payment and immediately invest that $2,500 monthly, you're adding $30,000 per year to your investment portfolio, potentially reaching your early retirement number years sooner than the traditional approach. So when you look at all this, it's a big decision. It's an emotionally charged decision. But sometimes the mathematically optimal choice isn't always the right choice for your specific situation. I always tell my clients the best financial plan is the one you can stick to for 20 plus years, not the one that looks perfect on paper. So if this episode has you questioning your current strategy or current thoughts when it comes to paying off your mortgage, don't let analysis paralysis cost you money. Schedule a free 30-minute consultation with me by going to momentouswealthadvisors.com. We'll run the exact numbers and show you what this decision can mean for your retirement timeline, including whether you're actually getting any tax benefits from your mortgage. So that's it for today's episode. Should I pay off my mortgage or continue to invest? Next week, we're going back to the Lisa and Mark scenario and focus on what Mark could have done from a financial planning perspective to make his retirement situation better off for himself and his family. Until next time, remember, every day is an opportunity to make better decisions around your money and your life. So make them count. And would love if you pre-ordered my new book, Momentous Decisions, 7 Steps to Better Health, More Wealth, and a Richer Life. You can find the link to pre-order your copy in the description of this podcast. And once again, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend or a family member, like, subscribe, or make a comment. My goal with the Wealth Decisions podcast is to reach over 100,000 people in the Twin Cities and beyond so people can live a richer life. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.